Alana.
Yes.
Jaylo.
Jaylo.
What's been going on, babe?
We are in the midst of a political exchange / experiment.
So for anybody who doesn't know, would you like to take a moment to explain?
Yes, so we decided that we wanted to get another perspective from the different sources, the sources that we listen to. So I agreed to listen to a source that Rick is listening to.
That I listen to on a regular basis.
That you listen to on a regular basis. And he is listening to something I listen to on a regular basis.
Basically, you're way more conservative than I am. I'm super liberal.
Right.
So
you're not all that liberal.
I'm not all that liberal. I'm on a lot of things, though.
Yeah.
I agreed to listen to Rush Limbaugh for a few days, up to a week.
Yeah.
And you agreed to listen to Democracy Now!
Yeah.
How has it been going for you now that you're on the second day?
Well, yesterday was probably one of the most depressing hours that I will never get back. Because it was... there was nothing happy that I was hearing being reported.
Is it fair to say that if Amy Goodman was hosting Saturday Night Live, you probably wouldn't watch?
No.
Okay.
I'd be bored to tears and I'd probably be depressed.
Right.
But what would be funny if somebody was able to imitate Amy Goodman.
That's true. Because of this, I have not listened to the program since probably Friday. What's been going on in Democracy Now! What are these liberals talking about, Alana?
The liberals. So yesterday was, I kind of told you, outside of this, that there were 3 interviews yesterday. One was on, this guy was being interviewed, who wrote an op-ed about Clarence Thomas, because he claims that Clarence Thomas wrote a book and tried to, and it was trying to tie eugenics and abortion together. This guy did not agree with it. He thought that he was wrong on that, but I don't think he did a very good job of explaining it, if you ask me. The other one was it's about this guy named Tom Hoffler, I believe his name is. He was this Republican strategist that just died. And the guy was talking about gerrymander. He was for gerrymandering, supposedly gerrymandering in the last election. I don't know that he was able to explain that clearly either. Maybe a little bit better than the other 2. And then the last person that she interviewed was this guy that was in the military, and there were these two men, Duncan Hunter and Edward Gallagher, that are being charged with war crimes. He thinks that they should be charged, but I don't think he did a very good idea with. I don't think he did very well with explaining his position.
Wait a second. He thinks that they should be charged, and you think that they should not be charged, or what?
I'm just hearing one part of the story.
Okay.
I don't know the whole story about how these guys were arrested or how these guys were charged.
And you don't think that they should be charged?
I don't think so. I think, and granted that was only the first episode that I was listening to. I really wish there was another person from the military on the other side of the spectrum that would explain why they should not be charged. Because what they did was they had sound bites, but it was only one person's it was only one person's take on it.
So I'm a little bit confused.
Yes.
Are you in the camp that they should or should not be charged?
I don't think they shouldn't. I don't think they should be charged. But I don't know the whole story either.
And
I think there has to be some explanation to that.
And the person who Amy Goodman was interviewing yesterday thought that they should be charged.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And he didn't want to tie that in with the guy, Dwayne Craddock, who just killed 12 people at the municipal building. and he was also in the military as well.
Oh, and the Amy Goodman's guest the other day was trying to tie all these crimes together.
Well, he said he wasn't going to.
Okay.
But I think there has to be some kind of comparison. Yeah.
I kind of find it refreshing that she won't always have somebody from the military on to explain the other side, only because you could get that at CNN or Fox News or even MSNBC. And so it's kind of interesting that she gives more time to an alternative argument.
I don't know about that. Well, I don't know about the CNN or MSNBC, but for sure Fox News has done that.
Yeah, they have people on from the military all the time.
Yes, all the time. But I think it's I would have liked to have had her do a debate with another person from the military that was opposing this guy's position.
And she does do that on occasion.
Yeah.
I just find it refreshing that it's not her go-to thing, because I find when you have military people or establishment people on too often, it gives less credence to the other side of the argument, right? So for an example, some people believe that in the build-up to the Iraq War, that the mainstream media just had on people who were for the war to try to push the idea to the American people, and that they didn't spend enough time giving a voice to the people who are in opposition of going into
Are you talking about like on MSNBC? And
I'm talking on MSNBC, I'm talking on CNN, I'm talking Fox News. And they're all the all the network nightly broadcasts.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that just because I wasn't into politics at the time, so I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention during that time in my life. I wasn't.
But there was a lot of pro-war stories in the lead-up to going into Iraq. And so I think it's refreshing that Amy Goodman allows people to have an alternative point of view.
Yeah, but this guy didn't seem like he was very prepared. That's my take.
Sure.
A lot of stuttering, his explanation didn't really seem understandable to me.
And keep in mind, too, that I don't know this person. He may not be a public figure.
Right.
So it's possible.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, he likely doesn't have a lot of experience speaking on a national stage like her show.
Oh, no, I understand that. He might have been nervous. But I mean, I just think that if a person is going to have a certain position on something, they should at least have a few good reasons why.
And you felt that he didn't have any good justification for his opinion?
He didn't explain it very well, no.
What about today's episode?
Yeah, that was interesting. So today's episode wasn't as it was depressing, but I'm glad that she did some focusing too on what was going on across our border in Canada. So there was a woman named Marianne Buller, who is a chief commissioner of an organization for missing and murdered Indigenous people. In particular, she was talking about these Indigenous girls and women that have been missing and murdered, and some of them were a part of the LGBTQ community. And that she says that these girls and women against these Indigenous peoples of Canada, they were genocide was committed against them for generations. I don't know enough about the decades of genocide, but she said that genocide could take on forms not just like the Holocaust, the horrific killings in the Holocaust, or the horrific killings in the Rwanda massacres. Like she was explaining about, she thinks that sterilization of women is a form of genocide, taking Indigenous people away from their parents is genocide. I don't know about that. So it's kind of interesting.
Genocide might be the wrong word, but it definitely is a form of ethnic cleansing, right? If you're taking people away from their parents, one would presume that you're not taking them away so that you could teach about how great their culture is. You're taking them away so you can indoctrinate them, right? Into what the establishment... And
she was saying that... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But I just had an idea. She was saying also that the reason why these kids were taken away by, and they were taken away by social services, not because of their culture, but because the parents were poor. That's one of the reasons. Not because of, was it because of?
I didn't watch. I usually watch some Christina, but this morning I didn't watch.
Yeah, part of it was because they were poor, and I think that was like one of the biggest things. They couldn't afford. They couldn't afford a lot of things to take care of the family. I guess that's what it sounds like to me.
How do you feel about that? Do you think it's good when poor people's children are taken away from them?
It really depends on the situation. I can't say it is or isn't. It really depends on the situation. People have different situations, and I can't really say that it's a good thing or not.
Did that guest make you want to look into the Canada situation further?
I don't understand it. I don't know. It is very sad, though. I never heard of that before. That was like the first time I ever heard of it. There was another guest star that was on at the same time as her. Her name is Robin Bourgeois. She is a professor of like women and gender studies in a Canadian university, I believe. And she was separated from her parents because of human trafficking as a teen. And she is advocating for those missing women and girls and the ones that were murdered because she wants justice for those people. What
did you think about her?
I thought it was really sad that she went through that. I mean, at such a young age. But she was able to articulate, both of them were able to articulate themselves, I think.
That's good. So it sounds like you may not agree with everything on the show.
No.
But it does have some value.
In some ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I have been listening to Rush Limbaugh,
mm-hmm.
who I've heard about for years, and, not necessarily the most positive stuff in the world.
Of course not.
I do remember back in the early 90s, he had some weird talk show late at night.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see that, but I heard of it, yes.
I remember watching that as a kid with my parents, I want to say,
mm-hmm.
or with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't know if my dad was really all that conservative. I think he was as liberal as I am.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe he was a
moderate or something. Moderate.
Really white-wing person, or maybe he doesn't know who Rush Limbaugh was.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's really all the exposure I've had is hearing about him and seeing that television show.
Mm-hmm.
I heard his radio show once before when I was in Hawaii, but they were just talking about football the entire time. It was really weird.
Oh, wow.
And so I just was like, oh, this isn't my thing, just because I'm not a sports person.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday I went on YouTube and I listened to Friday's episode, which
mm-hmm.
you said was like an open phones.
Open line Friday, yep.
But he didn't take any calls for a really, really long time.
Yeah, because sometimes he doesn't do that because there's so many things to get through, and his shows are really packed. And he wants to get through as many as possible because he has like stacks and stacks of stuff. Stacks of articles, a bunch of sound bites, things like that. Because he's constantly looking at, he's constantly reading about it and keeping everybody up to date. So it's probably why I didn't take a lot of calls.
He was talking about this show on HBO called Chernobyl.
Yes, I heard his thing about that. Yes.
Oh, you mean he's talked about it before?
No, I heard part of the show on Friday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Before this whole thing started.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And he was basically saying it's a really good show. I think it's amazing. But the writers and Stephen King also, who was not a writer on the show,
mm-hmm.
But Stephen King also said this,
yes.
are saying that the show it's inspired by the Trump administration. And
right.
Rush Limbaugh was trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, how could this be inspired by the Trump administration? Chernobyl happened in April of 1986. To me,
yeah.
that missed a knowledge of metaphor.
I don't know about that. But explain what you think, why you think it does that. Why you think it's a metaphorical thing.
You're aware of the idea of metaphors in poetry, right? Like
uh-huh.
You don't really say something, but you kind of say a different version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want this to get too much into the weeds, but I think it's something that Mark Twain said, which is that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So with Chernobyl, you're dealing with nuclear energy. You're dealing with Russia, I believe, correct? And a lot of people now believe that the Trump presidency is in large part due to Vladimir Putin, who is in control of Russia. And a lot of people are also concerned that Trump now has nuclear weapons.
Wow.
And it's the idea that, there's this... I haven't seen the show Chernobyl, so I really...
I haven't either. I doubt that I'm going to watch it, but I heard good things about it. I don't think I'm going to watch it, though.
I don't know whether I am or not going to watch it. But it's this idea that, okay, there are some similarities there. I thought that him saying that was a little bit too simplistic.
I can understand where he's coming from, though.
It sounds like an intelligent thing to say if you've never gone through middle school.
Never gone through middle school?
Because I think by that time you have an idea of how history kind of rhymes, right? It repeats itself in a different way. You understand metaphor a little bit if you have a good English teacher. Which I apparently did not because my English is atrocious. I was also a horrible student, so we shouldn't blame my English teacher. She was
you weren't living up to your potential.
No, she was actually a very smart lady.
Okay.
So that struck me as a little odd. Now he did say some stuff I agreed with.
I do. Okay, may I explain why I think that I understand where he's coming from?
Yeah, you can explain.
Okay, what I think he's trying to say. It just seems like every time there's, it seems like every time there's a TV show, whether it's streamed or not, like The Handmaid's Tale, which I heard about. I don't think I'll watch it.
I read the book. I thought it was a kind of a George Orwell ripoff to me.
I think I think it's overrated. I mean, it sounds like it's. A lot of people like it, some people don't. I don't know. I doubt that I'll be watching it. But anyway, like shows like The Handmaid's Tale and shows like Chernobyl and things like that, and it just seems like when they talk about like dictators and nuclear wars or whatever it is, they tend to kind of use the president to kind of promote it, I guess, or not promote it, but it just seems like they kind of throw it out there, like, oh, this is based on the president because blah 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 blah. We think he's a horrible person, and we think he's a horrible dictator, and we think he's going to ruin the country, and it just seems like, I don't know. It just seems like every time there's a show on that. I mean, it's just my opinion. I don't know if it's metaphorical or what. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think they try to use it to. Promote their belief that they think that this president is horrible, and they'll use it by using shows like this. This is just my opinion. This is what he's trying to say.
I hear you. I don't think The Handmaid's Tale does that, just because the book was written before Trump was president, and I don't think the writer had Trump in mind. Mm-hmm. I think the writer probably read in 1984 one too many times, in my opinion, and I've never seen the TV show.
Right.
What I will say is, throughout history, there is a long traditions of artists who want to comment on the time that they live in, but they feel like if they do, they're going to face some trouble. So they write it in code, which is another way of saying metaphor, right? So it's like, I heard this is true. Don't quote me on this. But I believe the movie and the TV show MASH were a metaphor for how bad Vietnam was, even though it was based on the Korean War.
Oh, wow.
That's an example of a TV series, which is basically a collective of artists, putting out a piece of art that is on the surface about one thing, but it really has to do with something else. You know? it stands to reason that in times like this that are kind of divisive, artists would continue putting out products that on the surface look like they're about something when they're really about something else.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that it just seems to me like when this show is like that is on, they immediately say the people that are critics of the president will say, "Oh, this every time I see this, it makes me think of the president." And I mean, they just come up with these weird, to me anyway, they're weird ideas about that. But that's.
I'm sure there are times when a piece of art isn't meant to be about whoever's leading the country, but people assume it, and the artist plays with that idea to get more press for their product. I don't know if that's the case with the show Chernobyl or not, because I haven't seen it, and I don't know, about the history of the writers. But it was interesting to me that he would automatically assume that they were just making that up. Oh, thank you for the water. So that was one thing I kind of disagreed with. Now, he did say some stuff that I thought was interesting.
Okay.
In a good way.
All right.
He said that the Democratic Party as a whole didn't know how to combat President Trump. And that is actually something that I think that he hit on the head. Absolutely.
I totally agree.
They don't know how to combat him.
Yeah, and that's why they haven't been able to combat him, no matter what they did. You would agree, and I know we've talked about this earlier today, that when the president pushes back against his opposers, they don't seem to know how to come back very well.
They don't. They don't fight.
They don't fight. I mean, he's a strong fighter.
Even though he didn't go to Vietnam.
No, I know that. But I mean, you know what I mean. He fights his opponents like no other that I've ever seen.
As far as politics go, yeah, in U.S. history, well, I guess I should rephrase this. In our lifetime, I can't think of another politician who's fought like he has.
Yeah, but nobody seems to have been able. And I've watched a bunch of his debates for the primaries and so on, and nobody seemed to be able to come back to give a really good comeback and fight really hard, because a lot of times they would repeat what he said, or they would try to be in opposition to him, and it just wouldn't stick. It wouldn't stick. So I think it's kind of interesting.
And it makes you wonder what's going to happen in 2020. I think, and I've said this before, that Trump is almost guaranteed to win another term and serve out that term.
I would agree with you on that, because there's no one in the Democratic Party that I can think of that could actually be strong enough to combat him.
I think Bernie might, but Bernie's the only one that I could think of, really.
I don't know.
There's some good ideas.
There's some slim pickings in the Democratic Party.
I know. Everybody's corrupt. Everybody's taking money from corporate donors. And so they're paid to be weak politicians and to put out weak arguments.
Right. Why are you pointing at me?
I don't know. I like pointing at you, babe. How many more days are we going to continue doing this challenge?
Well, I'm thinking, and this is my own opinion, I'm thinking 3 to 5 days at the most. I don't know if I'm going to do it after tomorrow, just because I don't know how many hours I can sit through Democracy Now.
The War and Peace Report.
I don't think I can sit through 5 hours of it. I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 hours of it I can, maybe.
It has been difficult for me to listen to Rush Limbaugh too, so.
Yeah, it's very, but will you agree?
Go ahead.
Would you agree, compared to Amy Goodman, would you agree that you hear a lot of optimism in his voice?
Compared to Amy Goodman, absolutely. But, I mean, I've known people who were terminally ill that just lost their kids, and compared to Amy Goodman, they were still pretty upbeat.
Yes. I think in some ways it may have been a challenge, maybe a little bit more of a challenge for me to listen to her, just because her it's just so depressing.
I think she's a really good reporter.
Yeah.
But she's not always the funnest person to listen to.
No. She may have I think towards the end of the last episode she was telling the guy, "Oh, we have to go now." I think she was kind of giggling.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, but very little.
That's good.
Very little.
I think I've heard her giggle maybe a handful of times in the 15 plus years that I've been listening.
No, and Rush laughs a lot.
Oh, he does.
He does.
So I've not heard him laugh yet.
Oh, you will. I'm
Okay.
sure you will. If you listen to more besides tomorrow.
I know I'm going to sound very, very ignorant about this because I don't know that much about Rush Limbaugh except for the surface stuff.
Yeah.
But does he ever talk? Does he have liberals that he's really good friends with? Does he have people in his life who are liberal? Or
I think maybe he does. I mean, he's not the kind of person that would just not talk to them because they're liberals.
But has he ever said anything like, "Oh, my best friend so and so, Bernie Sanders," or obviously not that, but
no, I don't know. I don't know what percentage of friends he has that are liberals, and I don't know if there are any famous ones that he knows.
I know he knows Elton John.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that that's more of let's say we know each other because we're both celebrities type of thing.
I don't know. I'm sure he probably has liberal friends. I mean, I think it's good to surround yourself with people that are a little different than you are.
For sure.
Yeah. But he has said a lot of stories about playing golf with the president, and he says that everything that the media has said about him is completely, as far as meeting him. I've heard stories from him that he actually is a really nice person, and I've also heard other stories from other people that says that he's actually a really nice person. It's fun to golf with him.
Don't you think that Rush Limbaugh would say that Trump is a nice person because, one, Trump is a conservative, and two, Trump probably sees Rush Limbaugh as somebody who is in a position of power. So he's going to be
No,
nice.
they've been friends for years.
Yeah, but he's always
for years.
But Rush Limbaugh has been in a position of power for years.
Okay. My answer to that is I don't think he's disingenuous.
Okay.
About it, I think he's actually genuinely saying that the president is really nice.
No, and I'm actually not saying that Rush Limbaugh is lying about that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, of course, Donald Trump is going to be nice to the super powerful celebrity.
No, I don't think he's. I've heard some really, really nice stories of people that weren't even celebrities that he actually, when they were going through some kind of a crisis, he actually called them personally. There was a woman named Melissa Young. I think she was in I forgot, was it Miss USA or something? And before the election, she was dying of cancer. I think it was.
Still happier than Amy Goodman. Go ahead.
Still happier than Amy Goodman. And she was raising a young son. And she was a Trump supporter from the beginning. And he actually called her personally to tell her that he was really, really sorry that she was going through that, and anything that he could do to help her, he would.
I will say this about Trump.
And she was a part of the Miss USA pageants.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I read the book that Bob Woodward wrote about the Trump administration.
Oh, Bob Woodward, yeah.
Yeah. Did I say Woodworth? I did say Woodward.
Woodward. I knew
it is Woodward. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I said 50 cents, and I listened back and I'm like, did I really just say that? It's 50 cents. I do know that. I don't know what I was thinking.
That's okay. I didn't even notice it.
I noticed it when I re-listened to it. When I was doing some editing, I'm like, God, Rick, you sound so stupid here. Anyways.
No, it's okay. You're fine.
Bob Woodward, he wrote a book about the Trump administration.
Uh-huh.
There was some criticism in there.
Yeah.
One of the things he said that was interesting, though, he said, oftentimes presidents will make a call to the family of a soldier who died overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And he said from what he could tell, when Trump would do that, Trump would really be concerned about the family. And it would really, really touch him when a soldier died.
Yeah. And I've heard, I think I heard a clip of him calling a family. He said, yeah, and he really is very concerned about those families. I mean, genuinely concerned about these families. He's definitely, he wants to do anything he can to help the veterans that are still around, too.
I don't know, maybe he does.
No, he's very much for the veterans. He is trying to get it so that the veterans are able to go to the VA and see their doctors right away.
How does he feel? How does he feel about veterinarians, though?
I don't know.
They're another type of vet.
Yeah, veterinarians are That's really funny.
Thank you.
I'm sure he likes them too. I guess they take care of our animals.
Nice. Here's another question about Rush Limbaugh, and
yes.
then we can move off of it.
Okay.
You've been listening to him for a while.
I've been listening to him just right before the election.
Oh, really? For some reason, I thought you had been listening for years and years and years.
No. I wish I had, but I didn't really get into him until right before the election.
Have you ever heard him take the liberal side of an argument? Have you ever heard him go on the air and say, you know what, I hate to say this, but Bernie Sanders is actually right about this issue?
I don't believe I have. I really don't believe I have. Yeah, I don't. I don't believe I have heard that before.
Interesting.
That would really surprise me. That would really, really surprise me if he did.
I don't know. I think if you're a nuanced person, if you're a really well-developed person, there's a gray area in your thinking, right? And I find it surprising that that has not happened.
Well, I think there are people like myself that see certain things, not everything, but certain things in black and white. Like, I would understand it if he was like an independent and he didn't lean too left or right. He was kind of in the middle. But I couldn't see it if somebody was like supposed to be like this staunch conservative and they kind of were liberal on certain things. I don't see it that way. But I understand if someone's coming from the middle of everything.
But couldn't you see if somebody's a staunch conservative, but there's one or two issues where they lean a little bit left, or vice versa?
I don't know that I could. I would kind of question that. I would be like, well, wow, how can you be a staunch conservative if you're for this? But that's me, though.
Okay.
That's me.
I find it... I find it easier to believe somebody if they have a few points that descend from the party line. You know, thank you for the water again. Whether that party... Thank you. Whether that party line is liberal or conservative, I think it's easier to believe somebody who goes outside of those comfort zones of belief. But that's myself.
Yeah.
Yes. Alana.
Yes.
Moving off of this.
Yeah.
Have you had any interesting dreams?
I did.
Tell me.
The other night I had 2 dreams and they were both kind of weird. The first one was like I dreamed that it was like Christmas time. And I guess there was a Christmas special that was being promoted, and part of the promotion was it was supposed to be like this interactive special where people had to dress up in costumes. I don't remember what costume I got, but it was really weird. And then the second dream I had was that Mariah Carey was singing Spanish music, like she was singing in Spanish, which is very strange to me because I don't think she made a Spanish album, and I don't know why I dreamed about that.
I've been having some dreams about you.
Oh, really?
I think I told you about these dreams.
Yes, I think you did. But tell them to whoever's listening.
Okay. This was maybe a week ago. I had a dream that I was supposed to present some award to, I believe, Eddie Murphy. And I told you a couple weeks ahead of time. Comes to the night of the event. I go to the dining hall where I'm supposed to present this award. I'm waiting for you. You're not coming. Finally, I call you. And I say, hey, Alana, where are you? And you're like, oh, goodness, I'm not going to show up tonight.
I'm tired.
And I say, what's going on? And this is my dream was based in a Saturday night. And he said, "I'll tell you on Tuesday. I gotta go. Bye bye." So I hang up the phone with you. I get really mad. I call back to you, and we started getting into an argument about it. And then I woke up. And I woke up angry at you.
Mm.
Sorry.
And you're about ready to call me, right?
I was about ready to call you. But then I realized that was just a dream. And then I probably shouldn't say this, but that's not going to stop me. I had this other dream that I'm hanging out with you, and you looked exactly like my mom, but you sounded like you. I turned my back for a second. I turned back, and you're fully you. Yeah, right? You were at my place for 3 hours.
Yes.
And you said that you were there all day, and I only had memory of the last 3 hours.
Yeah, I was there since 9 a.m.
Yeah, and by this time it was like 6 a.m. or something like that.
6 p.m. or something.
Something like
that. And I had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a strange dream.
That's weird.
It was very strange.
That is weird.
Yep.
Huh.
We've been having weird dreams.
Yeah, I know.
What did we have today to eat?
We had some really, really yummy pad thai that yours truly and Rick have made for the first time, and it turned out really good.
You made it sound like I just,
I
cut
know.
up like half of a pepper and you did the rest of it.
No. You know what I meant.
I made it and what was
I'm not trying to discredit your work because you did a lot of work.
I did
and most of it.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was chopping up vegetables.
Yours truly.
Oh, stop.
Sorry, go ahead.
But it turned out really good. It turned out really, really good. The sauce was good. The noodles were more nicely coated. It wasn't too spicy. The nuts were a really good topping. And it turned out really good.
I got a wok last week because I want to become better at making Asian food. Mm-hmm. And this was really our first time using it. I broke it in last night.
Yep.
I was a little bit worried that the pad thai was going to have a metallic taste because they say that the first couple of times you cook on it, it will have some weird sort of taste to it, right?
I didn't taste anything weird.
I didn't taste anything, and I think that's because instead of cooking on it once, I cooked on it 3 times last night and twice this morning.
Ah.
So I think that helped get rid of a lot of the taste that we would have had on it.
Yeah, it turned out really, really good.
I was nervous, but it did turn out really good, and there's plenty of leftovers too.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Elena.
Yes.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Today is starting out to be a really beautiful day. We did some rehearsal in the park, or playing in the park with guitar and flute. It was very interesting.
Yep. Look out for August, y'all.
Y'all. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the rest of this day, and that's all I've got to say.
That's all I got to say too.
Yes.
All right, Alana, Jaylo, or is it Jaylo?
It's Jaylo.
Jaylo.
Rick Hammond.
All right.
Until next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.